Welcome to the Conscious Experience. My name is Boris, and today I am once again with my favorite brother, Brother Mike. How are you, man?
Good, brother. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. I'm doing amazing. I'm so excited about today's topic. I feel it's so rich, so alive, so meaningful, and so present in, I think, all of our lives. So today we're talking about heartbreak,
Ah,
Heartbreak Hotel, and all the different types of heartbreak. How do we navigate it? What is its like purpose? How do we actually take that and alchemize it into something that truly serves, that truly feels enlivening, meaningful, expansive in our lives?
mhm. Awesome. So we will start it off with a question. So, what is heartbreak and why does it happen?
Yeah. So what is heartbreak? I'm kind of thinking about this when we think about like what is heartbreak? It's like what is the environment in which heartbreak unfolds? And it's like it's this environment of expectation and innocently so. I think even at the level of very young children, as we talked about in previous experiences, from the point of view of psychology, we can see that like when that first moment of separation takes place, like that's heartbreak. Like there's this expectation of oneness, and all of a sudden the mother doesn't respond, and I'm crying, and she is on the phone or she is in the bathroom, and she can't come, and she doesn't come, and there is this. It's like a broken expectation. So it's like what all of a sudden things are not as I thought they were, and I think that that's what it really is. It's something that touches us in a very deep way, and it touches us through our dream. It's like we have this dream of what life is and where it's going and how it's going to unfold, what the next moment is going to be. And then suddenly, glitch. And it's not like that. There was this expectation, the rhythm, the music, and then it suddenly drops you. And I think it's so powerful because it really rocks the foundation of our individual dream of the storyline of we thought we were right, like our mind thinks it's right about how things are going to go, and then suddenly it's this collapse, and it's a collapse of like trust, it's a collapse of feeling safe, it's a collapse of like your faith, and suddenly it's just like, wow, where am I if I'm not in that storyline? So I think that this is one of the principal kind of foundations what heartbreak is. How about for you? How does that resonate?
Yeah, 100%. I think you touched on something that was very important, which is I feel like all heartbreak stems from the divine separation between you and God. So for me, when I experience heartbreak, it's such a beautiful thing. I've always said that heartbreak is the most powerful human emotion that we can experience as humans, even more powerful than love. When you think about heartbreak, as good as love feels, like all these like air in the cloud type feelings of falling in love with somebody, heartbreak puts you in a different dimension, right? There's a reason the word is like heartbreak. It's like it feels like something physical, like your heart is literally breaking in half. I think there was somebody said once that most people would rather feel a physical pain, like pain in their body, than experience something like heartbreak because it's so intense. And
Yeah.
so whenever I experience heartbreak, whether it's like being with somebody for even like a couple days or a week and you enjoy their company, you put this expectation that they're going to be there forever and they leave. It's like I end up crying, and I know that that crying is just a wake up call from God saying, "Hey, you forgot that I'm here. I'm here with you always. It's fine." So yeah.
And then it's you're right. You're touching on an element. Heartbreak almost always is associated with this release through tears, this experience of crying. And there's very few things in life that really, especially as men, there's very few things in life that can really like knock us off, especially with all this conditioning. It's like, oh, I'm not supposed to. But heartbreak, I think even like, macho men can really feel this sense of like, okay, I understand, that's allowed. So I even remember speaking with my uncle years ago, and I was sharing with him that in my relationship with my wife back then, just my girlfriend, we cry sometimes. Like I've cried in front of her. And to him, he's just like the previous generation, right? He's maybe in his like or like late 40s, maybe right now. Well, to him, this was unthinkable. He's like, what? You're not supposed to cry in front of women. You're not supposed to. And I'm like, really, never? He's like, well, unless somebody died, which is, very close to this space. Like heartbreak is like, it means, I think at that, at our very innocent level, it's like our just inner child level, it's like it's loss. It's just this like sense of like something died. I can't get it back. It can't be like, we can't put Humpty Dumpty back together again. He fell off the wall. He's gone. But a part of us, it's like, but what, and it's like this sense of feeling lost, feeling uncertain. And so even like in that, you know, kind of old school masculine, there's allowance for this kind of an emotion of crying it out. And I think there's also just tremendous magic and healing in that experience to truly allow ourselves to feel heartbreak, because many times it will get covered over with anger. It's like, instead of really feeling and letting this just erupt, we get angry and we get really defensive and we say, you and this and all of that. And, or I don't care. I don't care. That doesn't matter to me. And so these two responses, they are like these protective layers on top of our heart. But once we get to tap in there and we really get to feel the pain, I really think, Mike, that this is like a spiritual experience, especially if you just allow it fully. Because when you allow it fully, it starts to feel this liberating experience. It starts to feel like, wow, like it's no longer buzzing in your head. It's no longer this like uncomfortable feeling. It's like, and it's just oscillates through you, and then you're free. And I believe my personal sense, last thing I want to say about this is that heartbreak, I think that it's pulling out of us the sanskaras, pulling out of us the past that is already lodged, already programmed. There's already that code. There's already that. But then it finds a resonance like tuning forks, right? Something is out here, and then suddenly it catches the same resonance, and then it starts to be pulled from us. And this is actually a deeply healing experience. This is part of our spiritual evolution, our awakening to release these unprocessed emotions, release these incomplete experiences, complete them. And then it's almost as if like you'll never again be in that same exact spot with that same exact kind of constellation. Now it's almost like I sometimes think about heartbreak as hatching out of the egg, hatching out of the shell, and entering a completely new dimension. Back then, you didn't know anything. You're inside of the shell. That is your world. Now that world cracks. Now you're in a brand new, maybe certainly bigger world, but maybe very scary, maybe very uncertain.
I love what you're saying. It sounds bad, but I always wish heartbreak upon people for all the benefits that you're saying. One of my favorite Rumi quotes is, he says, "You have to keep breaking your heart until it opens." So
Yeah.
like you're saying, like everybody, there's so many unprocessed emotions that come out, like you said, anger, frustration, resentment, all of that stuff, until it's like that chisel can come in and break it and just open up and allow the light to come out. So can
Yes.
we maybe use some examples of maybe something that recent that happened that maybe touched your heart or broke it a little bit? And
Yeah, absolutely. Um, well, I think like there's different flavors of heartbreak, and two currently come to mind, but I think there's more than that. First is a few months ago, I lost my grandmother. She passed away, and she was somebody who played such a key role in my life. She raised me in many of my years, and her love for me was just so wild. Like she would say, "I love you more than anybody else. I love you more than," and she would just be so, and of course, to some degree, it's kind of ridiculous, but her sincerity in it and her unapologeticness in the way that she's like, I pray for you, I love you, I want you, I can't wait to see you. And and it was all of these promises, because I'm in a place right now where I can't really travel all across continents. And it's like these promises, I'll see you soon, I'm coming, I'll be there, like I'll see you, you get to maybe even see my children, all of that, right? That world, that shell. And then suddenly I get message from my dad, she passed away. And that shell cracks. And like, I just couldn't have imagined that I would feel that way. I'm not sure, because I kind of was expecting that she would pass away. She was old, so I'm like, but when it hit me. And there was a part of me, the instant that it happened, this attack, this resentment, this anger at the hospitals, at how it happened, at like like, I'm like, nobody should be dying this way, alone in the hospitals, no visitors allowed, all kinds of BS. And it just was breaking my heart. But eventually, like, it just, like, it went in, and I just got to heave it up in such a profound way. And just, I just feel the longing. So many times we try to protect ourselves from feeling uncomfortable feelings. But it's like, when we just allow, which means you just, like, are aware that it's here, you have room for it, you don't try to drink it away, you don't try to smoke it away, you don't try to anger it away, you don't try to do different secondary emotions, but you're just like, I long for you, and I can't touch you anymore, I can't see you anymore. And we just allow this. I can even feel, like, at the back of my experience, I could feel it still. So I feel like this is one example of heartbreak. And just to speak more about this, like, what is therapeutic with this? How do we, like, really handle this consciously? And it is this ultimate simplicity of just being aware that there's this sensation, and letting it, as if you are standing under a shower and it's showering down on you, there's sensation. In the same way, we just are with it, and we let it shower down on us. We just let it feel. It seems like it may not run out. It seems like if we let it, it may overwhelm us. It seems like it will take time away from us. It seems like it's going to steal joy. And all of this may be these temporary price tags of it. But you have really only two choices. You're either going to suppress this experience, which means you're going to have this unprocessed grief, which is going to pop out in ways that you will never, like, really sometimes even make the connection. You'll be in different circumstances, different situations, different relationships, and it's going to pop out in weird, awkward ways that feel out of your control. But it needs to have its release. And so you have this choice, which it's gonna appear in your dream, or you say, okay, now is your time. I don't get to decree when the time of heartbreak is. You are here, and so I'm gonna meet you fully. And if you let it, it's going to eventually run itself out. It's like, we've talked about this in the emotional intelligence podcast, where we're saying, basically, like, every emotion, it has a limited lifespan, a limited amount of energy. It's energy in motion. It's not infinite energy. The only infinite is this awareness, is you get to see it pass through you. So you say, okay, however long you last, you can have space in my body. I can feel heartbreak in my body. Heartbreak, you're welcome in my body, you're welcome in my consciousness, you're welcome in my mind. Be here as long as you need to. It's kind of like Rumi's guest house, right? Remember that poem, which is like, in this poem, Ruby's basically saying, like, you're going to have, like, all of these people come into your house, and some of them are going to bring grief, some of them are going to bring joy, some gifts, some will try to steal from you. And he's basically inviting us to be this, like, guest house that is just open, like that open space where things come and go, and you just allow them to unfold. So I'd say that that's one flavor of heartbreak, which is, like, basically permanent loss. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of other flavors of heartbreak. I feel like heartbreak really is that you feel like there is some sort of impermanent loss. It's like God takes himself and separates himself. He does the most amazing magic trick, separates himself into apparently 7 or 8 billion people or whatever it is right now, giving you 7 or 8 billion ways to feel impermanent loss when you connect with an apparent other person, right? So all these opportunities. But it's interesting because, like, heartbreak stems from, again, this feeling of impermanent loss of typically somebody, right? Like, I'm sure you can be heartbroken about a place that you leave that you love, but it's not the same as a person.
Yeah. I think it's
So
typically relationships. Yeah.
yeah, I'm just wondering, like, that sense of feeling like that person's gone. And this will be a whole other episode around technology, with the future of technology being able to replicate certain values, emotions, way people speak, and being able to replicate your grandma, and you maybe not feeling as separated as you once did from her, right? And that's not even her leaving. So it's like,
Yeah. That's a very interesting topic. Yeah, death and life extension, and you know, where this can go, right? There's a series on Prime Video, I think I was watching, it's called Upload, and it was all about, you know, how you can basically replicate like in a digital afterlife. So if you wanted to, you could have your grandma right here and just be like, oh, hey, grandma. But it's like an AI. Well, you know, is it AI or is it actually a grandma? So I
I've
don't
been
know.
proposing the question to a bunch of people, like from couchsurfing, and it's like, yeah, if your parents passed away and somebody offered you $1,000 to replicate even a portion of them, and maybe you could only start by just typing on WeChat or some sort of chat box, right? Like all your father's mannerisms, all your mother's mannerisms, like their jokes and stuff like that, you for sure would say yes. And so this movement towards being united with everyone forever is an interesting thing, where there is no more loss, where there is no more. I think that's
Yeah.
kind of where we're moving, right?
I wonder, you know, that is certainly a direction. It's very palpable in the world, you know, the idea of digitalizing human experience in such a way that we can basically have infinite um, digital life, infinite kind of like this, yeah, artificial, so to speak, life. But I also wonder if this is, you know, really, you know, if this is really just the avoidance of heartbreak. And because I know that there's so much depth in heartbreak, I'm not even sure if I would have mom, you know, replicate as a text or SMS bot, you know, um, just because it's like there's this therapeutic experience of really meeting the person, and this also becomes like a substitute. It's almost like a it's weird in this context, but this comes to me, you know, it's almost like a sex doll. You're not really with the person. You are with this thing that you are like, yeah, you know, I got this sex doll and like I don't need anybody. And it's just like, but it seems like this one-dimensional kind of relationship, like back into your shell of like, I get to control my world. Screw that. I'm gonna take all these pieces of the shell, I'm gonna put them back, I'm gonna tape them all back. You know?
Yeah, it could be looked at as the avoidance of heartbreak, but we have to think of it again back to why heartbreak happens, is to open our hearts to, at least I believe, is to allow us to remember that there is no loss.
There is
There,
no loss. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
interesting. What are, I know you touched briefly on this. You mentioned, so let's talk about some ways that to deal with heartbreak or to heal heartbreak. And you mentioned just time in general. Everything has its finite amount of time before the energy wears off. What are some
Yeah.
other ways? Like, I think I can think of just, and this is, again, it can be looked at masking it, but again, a lot of people that experience heartbreak, it's like they can go into depression, anxiety, and stuff like that. They stop eating. This is like not a thing to joke about, right? This is like really, really can affect people's lives. So,
People
um,
die from heartbreak. They
yeah,
literally die. Partners who lose their partners can die just because they lost their partners.
yeah, it's like you lost half of yourself. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so surrounding yourself with people that love you, just reminding you. So if you've been
Yes.
in a romantic relationship that ended, I know that I always seek my family and just being around them, even though the pain still exists. At least you're surrounded by people that you love, so, or that
Yes.
love you.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, I think, you know, in even though there's this some of these different kind of angles of heartbreak, yeah, it's all about loss, but the loss can be like the loss of a dog, the loss of, you know, a relative, the loss of, sometimes it's also like the loss of a dream. Like sometimes people hype themselves up into an experience of like remember back in the day we were like there was this crypto project, I don't remember what it was called, like Snow Dog or something like that, right, where they were trying a new things like, hey, everybody, you know, put in their money and then we're going to, I don't remember, they like had this bank where they were going to do a buyback and basically like everybody should have made a whole bunch of money. And there were people, at least from the chats that we read, it's like there's people who were like, basically they took all their money out, they're like, yeah, this is going to be it, I'm going to like triple my money. and then everything went to zero, and apparently people committed suicide. And this is, and I don't know if it's necessarily also like heartbreak. I wonder if like in that scenario it has to do with embarrassment, or like some sense of like, how can I show up to my family, having done this, having, let's say, like taken all my money, all our money, maybe even, um, and spent it like this. So I think there could be maybe some of those kind of flavors. And then of course the most profound one is in our intimate relationships. But I also feel like it's different, like a romantic heartbreak versus, let's say, even losing your child, and your child dying, um, miscarriages. There's not even a child, but there's this dream, there's this sense, wow, we're becoming a family. And then what, and it's like a rug pull. And suddenly you're like in a different world again. But the commonality there is, it's like I wouldn't even go to this understanding yet of like, yeah, there is no loss, and we can actually deduce this by understanding the omnipresence of God. But it's like it's almost as if we need to allow this dream loss, this like it's almost like a loss in a novel that we're reading. So it's like we don't go to read the novel or to watch the movie, and then as it's all happening, we're like, this is not true, this is just a movie, these are just words on a page. We don't do that, because we go there for the experience. And I truly believe that we are here also for the experience. I don't think that we are forced here. I don't think that this is like some kind of like a prison or something like this. It's like there is a sense of God participating in this creation, in this matrix, willfully. And so it's like we are here, and then there's this. And so it's almost as if that we get to experience something that is entirely impossible in our original state. We get to experience the impossible. So why would we come here and then start to experience it and then like, oh no, no, this is not happening, this is not true? No, see, why you come here? I think that it is to experience the fullness of humanhood, the fullness of what emotions are, the fullness of what separation is. And I think also, I think separation fully felt is oneness. I think all of it leads right back to it. It's like, yeah, we can put this like constellation of, illusions, but at the core of it, any illusion, you dig deep enough and it's like, well, hello again, and you find your beloved.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, to how to deal with heartbreak is to really understand that it is a gift that's coming to you. It is literally like, we may say, how could it be a gift that, my mom passed away, or my grandma passed away, or my partner left me, or I had this miscarriage? How could it be a gift? But we can only really understand this if we say, okay, our emotions, our experiences, they're coming from within to the without. If we still are in the paradigm that of the inside, or sorry, the outside in paradigm, this doesn't make much sense, because it seems like, oh, this made me feel this way. But if we understand that everything is already locked in here, we have this imprisoned splendor, and it is imprisoned by these layers of unprocessed emotion. I think we really program all of that in our 0 to 7 years old. We get to basically set up like the unique characteristics of this lifetime in the various traumas and impressions and sense impressions and understandings that we form with our little mind. And so then we engage life, and then it's like life starts to like pull at these various different things, and how we respond to it is what the game is about. And so any heartbreak is literally something that's coming in to liberate you, to free you emotionally, to free you so that you are experiencing levity, so you experience more oneness, you get closer to oneness, you get closer to peace, you get closer to love. Of course, you're already always there, but it's like this step-by-step unveiling. And I truly believe that it's like the path to oneness is through our emotions. It's not by trying to get around them, bypass them, wish them away, manifest them away, curse them away, whatever, pray them away. No, this experience is the divine experience. This is the thing that we've all been asking for, and it's happening. And so if we just stop interfering with this open heart surgery, it's opening our heart, then it can actually be more safe. It can be more comforting, because typically we're on the operating table and we are fighting against the doctor. We are saying, don't touch me, don't, and we are in this manic space. If we can bring more of this understanding that it's okay for me to feel this way, it's okay for me to feel heartbreak in my body. It is okay. I'm still safe. I'm still here. Everything's all right. It's just a sensation. It's this coming out. Let it come out. Come on up and out. Then it could be a lot more of a smoother ride. It could be just you could feel it and you're like, you want to go and you want to destroy things, but instead you lay down on the floor and you just surrender. You open your arms. You're like, okay, have me. And I think that this is where we stop trashing about, trying to control it, trying to put the shell back together. I think that is where we get so much more of an experience of grace. The heartbreak is there, but there's also this realization of grace. And it makes all things in a completely new light.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, heartbreak is really a loss of temporary, or a feeling of a loss of a temporary experience, right? So like you're saying, it's whenever we think that something from the outside, which all experience is temporary, and we rely on that, then we have these unmet expectations. So however that temporary might feel, it might be a 7-year relationship, that's also temporary, right? And then we have an expectation that that's going to last forever.
Yes.
Then we experience heartbreak. So I know we're giving you guys a little bit paradoxical advice in that heartbreak is very natural. I can't think of a human being that I know that's never experienced it. I can't think of one ever. But at the same time, because they are expectations, they're meant to wake you up, right?
Yes.
So maybe a question to contemplate is like, do you feel like great saints like the Buddha or Jesus went through life with no heartbreak? And if they did experience heartbreak, can you say that it was most definitely an unmet expectation that they had about a temporary experience lasting forever?
I would think so. But this is the very core of our mesmerism here. Like we're looking at this dream, it's continuously passing. Like there's no moment that it ever remains, and yet we still have each time we're coming to it with this expectation. Oh, this one will be forever. Each joy, each like craving that is satisfied, we're like, yeah, I want to get there so that it'll be finally at that level. That will be me. And it's at the very least, death is going to take it from your withering fingers. It's like you can't hold on to anything. But this is the great, game here. Everybody in this world assumes that they are a permanent being, assumes that experiences that they agree upon and all of these things, all these expectations, that they will be there tomorrow, right? Like we set our alarm and we expect that tomorrow we'll be able to wake up. But that's pure faith. It's just like it's an expectation. And one day you don't. There will be one day that this expectation is broken. And I think that you're absolutely right, that heartbreak reminds us of this inevitable. But there is something that happens. Heartbreak is not permanent, because what happens if we really think about it, Mike, I think we talked about this before, that like people who suffer the most, like people who have gone through tremendous suffering in their lives, they are like the most soft, kind, understanding people.
Yeah.
People who have really just let themselves, whatever happen. There is people who suffer a lot and they try to put the shell back on, and they're the most like hard people. But there's also that other side, the completion. And I believe that it allows us to walk through life like like a Nati Yogi, in the sense of like you really know you're walking through this impermanent dream. Somebody comes up to you, they're like, like, hey, I have this thing, it's worth $1 million. And you're like, it's just a dream figment. It's worth nothing, and you're like, you can interact with these dream characters, and everything comes and goes and you let it. And there's a sort of a grace where it's like you're literally like in the world, but you're not off the world. You don't expect the world to add anything to you or to take anything away, because it can't. Any kind of thing that is temporary is not a reality. If it's here today and gone tomorrow, then it's simply, it's a wave in the ocean. So it has no existence of its own. So yeah, it's like impermanence, and we get to like embody through heartbreak, I believe, this wisdom of impermanence, and then we don't hold on so tightly. We don't chase and crave so hard. We don't try to avert, because what's the point? Okay, get me, get me. Yeah, how long will you get me for? Oh, now you're gone. That's it.
When you were speaking, it reminded me of your father, and even though I don't know him very well, I can see the qualities of what he went through with your mother. So, is there something that you want to share around that? I mean, he had to deal with something that we'll probably never have to deal with, hopefully, knock on wood, which is the real loss, not the like separation, but the real loss of somebody that you love dearly, and
Yeah.
how it made him like a much more caring, kind person.
Yeah, it was definitely, a very shared journey him and I got to go through when mom passed away. I was 18, she was like 38. She was like almost like our age. Um, and I got to witness different members of the family, because we're not the only two members of our family. And I watched how some people, including myself in the beginning, got really hard, got really like basically just like, at least for me, I had this rage against God and like against life, and like, how dare you take, my mom away. I can't, and during that time I was so lost in my own loss. I don't know what exactly my dad was feeling. Like, of course, but like I know that he was feeling a lot, but I couldn't even like look beyond my whatever was happening. I was trying to numb myself out. I was trying to distract myself. I was trying to whatever I could do. And I was flipping between like this intense depression and like rage and anger. Um, but I really see that it's like what it taught us. And I think that my dad would agree. Like, he watches these always, by the way. Hi, Dad. And I think he would agree in this, that he he and I really got to experience a shift in values when this happened. Like, when he was with my dad, when my dad was with my mom, uh, the values were so much about being right. It's like, right now it's so even hard to think about. It's like, do I really like, can I really endorse myself in this kind of space? So like, yeah, I'm right. I want to argue with you just to prove that I'm right. It doesn't make any sense to me now. But back then, I remember the arguments that they would have would be like these petty little things. And it's like, that experience got us to really understand the preciousness and the fragile nature of life, and just be like, how it's like that Beatles song, there's no time for fighting or fussing, my friend. They sing this song, and it's just like, you really get to see that, because tomorrow might never come, maybe because I slip and fall, or maybe because whatever else may happen. And so there is this like illumination of the preciousness of life. I think that is at the core of all heartbreak, but especially this way where you lose somebody to death, and it seems irrecoverable.
It's like we don't, through heartbreak, it's like not that we stop relying and having expectations about temporary experiences. It's almost like those temporary experiences allow us to enjoy and indulge the scarcity of those individual temporary experiences a little bit more. So you're right. It's not that we're stopping our expectations on temporary experiences so that we never feel heartbreak. It's like we
Mm.
get to cherish them even more and really squeeze the spirit and life out of each of those, knowing that there's just a continuation of temporary experiences.
Yeah, that's right. It allows us to enjoy the temporary. It allows us to really enter life fully, knowing that it actually can't leave a scratch on us. Like, and the reason I'm not talking, of course, it can scratch our bodies, but it becomes more and more obvious that there's more to this than our bodies. That there's just this depth, and so we feel more available to play the game. Like, again, like we use sometimes this analogy. It's like, play the game, meaning to feel, to be human. If you get on the basketball court and you say, the people are playing, you're like, oh, you guys are playing stupid rules, it's not real. You take the ball and you like run with it, you kick it, and you tackle somebody, and none of this like, it ruins the game. Like, nobody has fun, nobody, the purpose is lost. And so I think that as we grow in this wisdom through feeling through feeling well, not just trying to be somebody who feels well, but learning to feel well, learning to feel skillfully. I mean, learning to feel fully. We develop this wisdom, this kind of graceful way to fully engage and to really pay attention to those temporary moments. It's almost like skits, you know, like movie skits, or like stage skits, like improv, where you're like, yeah, you just go in it. You don't go and say, oh, this is stupid, it's all fake. You're just like, no, yeah, you know, like I'm this guy, and that's how it, like, that's connection, that's like participation, that's engagement with life.
I had just a real heartfelt moment appreciating you.
Mm,
Feeling like even this is a temporary experience, what we're able to share here on YouTube.
yeah, I feel it,
Yeah.
brother. Yeah.
Nice. This is a great topic. I maybe we can end with a couple more questions and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah.
But maybe we can try this one again. Again, Boris, pretend that I'm your newborn baby
Yeah.
and I know nothing about the world. And I want you to speak to me about what I will experience through love and heartbreak.
Yeah. I mean, I would just say that, I would just say that, you know, contrary to my upbringing, where death was never talked about, loss was never talked about, it's like, yeah, you run into these and you're like, hey, it's okay, let's drink it away, let's, you know, all of that. So instead of all of that, I would really, and this is, I think, also what I appreciate about some of the um, Mexican shamanic traditions, where it's like they talk about death as being their ally. I would bring some of this, because when you're one with loss, this is also from the Tao Te Ching. It says when you're one with loss, you don't fear loss anymore. So we're basically want to say it like this: is say, hey, you know what? We're here for a short time. We're here for a short time, and life is very fragile. Anything might happen, and you know, our bodies are very fragile, and we may not be here. We may not even have, we may lose capacity over life. We may not be able to walk, we may not be able to talk. Some people lose all their memories. So this moment is really precious. We get to have each other one moment at a time, and it's an opportunity for us to just share love, to be authentic, to be fully ourselves, to listen to each other, to feel each other. And there will be a time when people, you know, who have been in your life for a really long time, you got used to them, they feel familiar, they'll disappear, they'll pass, that we won't be able to reach them again in the same way that we have throughout our whole life. And this is okay. It's going to do something. It's going to pull some feelings. It's going to pull on some heartstrings. You'll feel ouchy right here. You'll feel like somebody poked you really hard in your heart. And I want you to know that it's okay to feel that poke. It's okay to feel that fragility, that uncertainty, that loss of something that you thought is so clear and so real and so forever. And all you got to do is you just breathe. You breathe and you feel, and know that we're all breathing and feeling together. On the other side of the stage, we'll meet again. But here, we may temporarily disappear behind the curtain. I'd say something like this.
Oh, beautiful. It's great. Shivers.
Yeah.
Very, very powerful. I like where this episode has taken us.
Yeah.
I can't wait to rewatch this. I learned so much from just hanging out with you for an hour every week. So,
So grateful.
yeah.
So I think just in this softer space that maybe we arrived to, and I hope that, you know, if you're watching this, maybe that you also got to take this journey with us and really just get the sense that maybe it's okay to yield to emotion, to heartbreak, to loss, and that there's a sort of a both a clearing and a download that is happening. It's almost like we're letting go of something, but we're enlightened in some unique way through this wisdom, through this etching. It's like, it reminds me of another Rumi quote. This is a Rumi episode, in which he says, like, if you're irritated by every rub, how will you ever be polished? And he's comparing us to basically to diamonds, to gems that, you know, that are polished and shaped, and then they shine. But, you know, in our life, sometimes as we get rubbed the wrong way, so to speak, we just start trying to, protect and defend. And so I just want to, yeah, kind of end on this invitation to soften, to yield, to allow, to embrace, and to see if we can actually be one in this moment with all that is, instead of feeling like I'm this little separate ego gonna, try to manipulate and get my way through these emotions, but instead say, oh, this is me. This is the sound of my heart right now. This is it right here. No one to blame, just only to breathe.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Reminds me also of a quote. Now that we keep talking about Rumi, it's like that I recently read: the space where lovers meet and separate is where the birthplace of poetry is.
Oh, this is rich.
Yeah. So if you guys enjoy writing, next time you experience love or heartbreak, make sure you write it down. I'm sure you can help a lot of people with that gift of heartbreak.
Powerful.
So,
Yes.
all right, guys, thank you so much for your time, energy, and patience. And hopefully you guys learned something. Leave us a comment below if you like this. Make sure you like and subscribe. We will see you next week. God bless everybody.
Thank you.
Take
Bye-bye.
care.